Today's devotional deals with grief. Let's turn to God's Word to hear how He will be there with us, ready to provide comfort from the loss of a loved one. Day 4. Overwhelmed with grief. 2 Samuel 19:1. Joab was told, "The king is weeping and mourning for Absalom." And for the whole army the victory that day was turned into mourning, because on that day the troops heard it said, "The king is grieving for Hissen." And the men stole into the city that day, as men steal in who are ashamed when they flee from battle. The king covered his face and cried aloud, "O my son Absalom! O Absalom, my son, my son!" Then Joab went into the house to the king and said, "Today you have humiliated all your men, who have just saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters, and the lives of your wives and concubines. You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom were alive today and all of us were dead. Now go out and encourage your men. I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a man will be left with you by nightfall. This will be worse for you than all the calamities that have come on you from your youth till now." So the king got up and took his seat in the gateway. When the men were told, "The king is sitting in the gateway," they all came before him. Meanwhile, the Israelites had fled to their homes. Day 4, overwhelmed with grief. Have you ever tried to comfort someone who refused to be comforted? Or maybe you were the one whose sorrow was so deep that no words or actions could penetrate your grief. We've all seen or experienced the gut-wrenching sorrow that causes us to want to deny the pain and turn back the hands of time. Sometimes all we can do is utter the name of the person we've lost. Such was David's grief when he heard of Absalom's death. He stopped everything and, in true Eastern fashion, wailed for his rebellious son, even though Absalom was killed in a coup to steal his father's kingdom. Nevertheless, David was so grief-stricken that he was unable to cope with the responsibilities of reclaiming the kingdom. In fact, his grief was so debilitating that his closest aides warned him that if he didn't pull himself together and rejoice that his armies had conquered his enemies, including his son, his subjects would grow disheartened. As a father, David had every right to feel grief. However, as the leader of a nation, King David had to rise above his grief and carry on for the sake of his people. The death of a child is beyond tragic. It is the deepest grief and sorrow. And there are other losses worth grieving. The death of a marriage, the end of a friendship, or the loss of your health. Then comes the anguish. You want to blank out the present and look to the past. You deeply want to turn back the clock and reverse what has happened. You can't eat, sleep, or work. In the freshness of the pain, it might seem you can never again function. Maybe you are overwhelmed by a devastating grief right now, or are trying to encourage someone else in a similar situation. Maybe you need to think about what David did. Embrace your personal grief, but remember your responsibilities to others, even though it may be the hardest thing to do. God has not promised immunity from sorrow, but He has promised that He will be present with us through it. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5:4. Reflection. What event or events in your life have nearly overwhelmed you with grief? Describe what happened. What responsibilities forced you to face your pain and function again? How did God come alongside to comfort and strengthen you in your sorrow? I hope this devotional has helped you. I want you to have the complete 14-day daily devotional. It is totally free. The link is in the comments and in the description. All you have to do is click the link and enjoy. If you have a prayer request, leave it in the comments and we will be honored to lift you up in prayer. God bless you today and every day. Please subscribe to our channel. It lets us know you enjoy our videos. Remember, if you see someone without a smile, share one of yours.